I found a bag of cash in an abandoned car. You ever have one of those days where everything just drags? Like life is a thick fog and you're wading through it with soggy shoes and all you want is to get home and collapse? Yeah, that was me last Tuesday. I'd been stuck in traffic for almost 2 hours, had a conference call that could have been an email, and my stomach was growling like a caged bear because apparently lunch was optional if you had deadlines. I finally peeled out of the office parking lot at around 8:30 p.m., my car smelling faintly of burnt coffee and desperation. The streetlights flickered on as I drove through my neighborhood, the usual hum of cars giving way to a quieter, emptier vibe. Normally, this is where I just hum along to some Spotify playlist and try to forget the day. But that night, something made me take a slight detour through a side street I'd never really paid much attention to. The street was lined with old buildings, a few shuttered storefronts, and a lot of cracked pavement. Half the streetlights were out, leaving odd pockets of shadow that made me grip the steering wheel a little tighter. And that's when I saw it. An old car parked awkwardly on the curb. The kind of car that screamed abandoned but had this weird air about it, like it didn't belong there. It was a rusted dark green sedan, paint peeling, windows caked in grime. Its tires looked flat and the interior was dark, except for a faint glint of something inside. My first thought was probably stolen and dumped, or maybe a homeless person is using it. Either way, I should keep moving. But then curiosity, that insufferable little gremlin that always gets me into trouble, whispered in my ear, "Take a look." I parked a little down the street, grabbed my flashlight from the car, and cautiously approached the sedan. The air smelled like wet asphalt and mildew. My shoes squeaked on the uneven pavement, and I swear, every creak of the building next to me sounded like someone or something watching. I crouched down and peeked through the slightly cracked window. That's when I saw it. A duffel bag. Plain, black, nothing fancy. And it wasn't just any duffel bag, it was stuffed, overstuffed. And the top was unzipped. A few bills were visible at the opening. My brain froze. No way was this real. I shook my head. Maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe I'd been staring at the fluorescent office lights too long. But then I caught a glimpse of the numbers. Hundreds, maybe thousands stacked neatly. Cash. Actual, real life, no questions asked money. I stepped back, my heart starting to hammer like it was trying to escape my chest. Okay, I muttered under my breath. Breathe, Alex, just breathe. My mind immediately went into overdrive. Leave it, don't touch it. It's probably a setup, or stolen, or cursed, or radioactive. Or then another voice barged in, louder than my paranoid one. Take it. You could use this, change your life. No one will ever know. And just like that, my moral compass went on vacation. Jake. I pulled out my phone and typed a quick message to Riley, my best friend and the voice of reason in my otherwise reckless life. Alex, dude, I found something. Might be money, a lot of it. Don't freak out. Almost immediately, Riley's reply popped up. Riley, money? Like on the street, or is this some insane scam? I hesitated. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I don't even know, man. I decided to call instead. Riley picked up on the first ring, his voice groggy. Yo, Alex, what's up? Riley, you're not gonna believe this. I found a bag in a car. Looks like cash, like a ton of cash. My voice shook, though I tried to mask it. There was a long pause on the other end. Then Riley said slowly, Alex, you're kidding me. I wish I was, I said. I'm standing right by it, and I don't know what to do. Step back, Riley instructed, like he was defusing a bomb. Seriously, just walk away. Call the cops, whatever. Don't touch it. I can't. I mean, what if it's legit? What if it's just sitting there? I could actually... Alex, no. This is literally how people end up in jail or dead. I sighed, running my hands over my face. I know, but I can't stop thinking about it. Riley, this could be my ticket out of everything. My rent, my bills, hell, maybe even a trip somewhere nice for once. You know, no more scraping by. Another pause. I could hear Riley chewing over his words. Finally, he said, look, man, I get it. I really do, but this feels wrong. Something's off. If it's that easy, trust me, it's a trap. And you know your luck. I muttered something under my breath, not listening to the part about luck. I have to see it closer. Just one peek. I crouched again, shining the flashlight inside the car. My eyes widened as I got a better look. The bills were bundled neatly in stacks, probably tens of thousands each. My brain started doing math faster than I could follow. Even if it's 20 stacks, that's holy shit. That's life-changing money. I debated. I paced a little. My hands shook and my heartbeat felt like a drumline in a parade. The street was empty. No cops, no witnesses, just me, the car, and the temptation. You're gonna regret it if you don't take it, my greedy little voice whispered. You're also gonna regret it if you do. My rational voice shot back, and there it was, that moment of pure indecision that defines life-changing choices. I sent another text to Riley. Alex, I think I'm gonna take it. There was a pause that felt like eternity. Riley, Alex, don't. You're insane. Too late. I slid open the door carefully. The hinges creaked like the sound of doom. I grabbed the duffel bag. It was heavier than I expected. My heart pounded in my ears. I half expected the car to explode or alarms to go off, or worse, for someone to appear from the shadows and punch me in the face. Nothing happened. I peeked around nervously, stuffing the bag into my car. My hands were shaking as I closed the trunk. I sat in the driver's seat, breathing hard. Okay, this is fine, I muttered. No one saw me. No one knows. We're good. But of course, that's when I didn't notice the shadow moving behind the car. I didn't see Marcus, and Marcus had been watching that car for hours, waiting for someone like me, someone stupid enough to stumble into a setup. Riley was still on the phone, his voice growing more frantic as I fumbled with the bag. Alex, put it down. I'm serious, man. This is exactly how people get themselves killed. I laughed nervously. Relax, Riley. I'm fine. Totally fine. Just don't freak out. I'm heading home. The thing is, I wasn't fine, and I had no idea that the night was just beginning, that this bag of cash was more dangerous than I could have ever imagined. As I drove off, the street behind me empty, I had that sinking feeling in my gut. You know the one that tells you that the universe just handed you a shiny, glittering trap and you're walking straight into it. Yeah, that feeling. And Marcus? He followed, keeping his distance, smirking to himself. He knew exactly what had just happened. And for him, the fun was only getting started. I thought I'd caught a break when I got the duffel bag into my apartment without incident. My adrenaline was still pumping, my hands sticky from nervous sweat, and my brain racing faster than my heartbeat. I sat on my couch staring at the bag like it was some kind of artifact from another universe. Okay, Alex, I muttered to myself. This is life-changing. You are officially on the path to, well, something better than life before. I laughed nervously, but my laughter didn't last long because about 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I hesitated. Riley always said, never answer numbers you don't know, but my curiosity, and let's be honest, paranoia, got the better of me. Hello? I said. A calm, measured female voice answered. Alex Carter? My stomach dropped. Yes? My name is Maya Brooks, she said. I know about the money. I froze. Wait, what money? I tried to sound casual, but my voice betrayed me. There's no time to explain over the phone. I can help you protect it. Meet me at the corner cafe on 5th and Main in 20 minutes. And Alex, trust me, don't involve anyone else. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Maya Brooks? Who the hell was she? And how did she even know about the bag? My mind spun with possibilities, each worse than the last. Naturally, the first person I called was Riley. Dude, I said, practically whispering, I think I'm in over my head. Alex? Riley snapped. You are in over your head. You've got someone calling you about stolen money and you're thinking about meeting them? I don't know. Riley, she says she can help. You don't know her. You don't know anything. This is exactly how people end up dead. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I know, but what choice do I have? I can't just leave it. Not now. Alex, take a deep breath. Listen to me. Call the cops. Get somewhere safe. Don't meet some stranger in a cafe, and definitely don't take advice about cash from a stranger. Please. I ended the call, but Riley's words echoed in my head. I wanted to be rational. I wanted to be smart, but the idea that someone might actually know what I was holding, someone who might be dangerous, made me feel exposed, hunted even. I debated for what felt like hours. Finally, my curiosity, or stupidity, won out. I grabbed the duffel bag and headed out, keeping my head low. The cafe was dimly lit, quiet, and smelled faintly of burnt coffee and cinnamon. I sat at a corner table, trying to convince myself that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't completely insane for coming here. And then she appeared. Maya Brooks, mid-30s, sharp features, dark hair pulled back, wearing a leather jacket and a look that screamed, "Don't mess with me." She slid into the seat across from me like she owned the place. You, Alex? She asked, no hesitation. That's me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. So, you're here to help me? Yes, she said simply. But first, I need to know that you understand the danger you're in. That bag you found, it's not just money. People want it back, and they don't care about how you found it, or who you are. I swallowed hard. People? Who? Marcus and his crew, low-level gangsters at first glance, but they report to someone much bigger. They've been tracking that car for weeks. You were lucky you got it out without incident. I blinked. Wait, what? Tracking? You mean someone followed the car? Maya nodded. And now they're tracking you, which is why you need me. I know ways to keep you safe, to keep the bag safe until we figure out what to do next. I tried to process this. My brain was screaming, but part of me couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement, danger, real danger, not just the boring 9-to-5 kind I usually dealt with. I pulled out my phone. I think I should call Riley. He's my best friend. I mean, he's smart. Maya's eyes narrowed. No, not yet. If Riley knows, it complicates things. He'll talk about calling the cops. He'll talk about doing the right thing. That's not a bad thing, but it could get you killed if someone's watching. I hesitated. She sounded convincing, but I knew Riley was right. This was dangerous. Fine, I said finally. But if I do this, I don't know what comes next. Maya leaned back, crossing her arms. Then you're going to listen carefully. You keep the money close. You don't tell anyone, and we stay alert. You understand? I nodded, gripping the bag a little tighter. Got it. I left the cafe with Maya's instructions rattling in my head. Every shadow on the street made me jump. Every distant car horn sounded like someone following me. And deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that Riley was right. I was in over my head. By the time I got home, I had a text waiting for me. Riley, Alex, you didn't listen to me, did you? I typed back, hands trembling. Alex, maybe not, but I'm careful. I'll be fine. And then another thing happened that made my stomach drop. My doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole. Nobody. Just the empty hallway. I exhaled slowly. Okay, probably nothing. But when I opened the door, lying on my welcome mat was a small envelope. Plain, no markings, no return address. I picked it up, hands sweaty. Inside was a single note, handwritten in messy, almost urgent script. Give it back or someone dies. I froze. My brain went blank. My heart felt like it skipped a beat, or 10. I stuffed the note into my pocket, trying to tell myself it was a joke. Maybe some random prankster. But deep down, I knew. This was no joke. This was real. And from that moment on, nothing about that bag of money felt safe. I sat on my couch staring at it, my mind racing. Who was behind the note? How did they know I had the money? And worst of all, what had I gotten myself into? For the first time, the thrill of finding the money was completely overshadowed by fear. And that's when it hit me. Marcus wasn't just some shadowy figure anymore. He and his crew were real. They were dangerous, and now, somehow, I was their target. I glanced at my phone, debating whether to call Riley. I knew he'd tell me the same thing he always did. This is a terrible idea, get help. But the problem was, I couldn't, not yet. I had to figure this out on my own, or at least survive long enough to get some answers. I didn't know it yet, but that envelope, the note, was only the beginning. I've always thought of myself as a rational guy. I'm not reckless by nature. I pay my bills on time, I try to eat healthy, and I don't make major life decisions on a whim. But the last few days, yeah, those days have made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. That bag of money sitting in my apartment had turned my world upside down. And now I was stuck. Mentally, emotionally, morally. Every time I looked at it, I imagined what life could be like. A bigger apartment. No more eating instant noodles every other night. Paying off my student loans and credit cards. Hell, even a vacation somewhere tropical. A life where I wasn't constantly worrying about rent or bills or the next unexpected expense. But the problem was, I didn't know if any of that was worth the risk. I didn't know if my dreams were worth someone else's life or even my own. I tried to distract myself at first, binge watching TV shows, walking aimlessly around the city, anything to take my mind off the bag, but it was always there, like a shadow I couldn't shake. Every thought circled back to it, and with every circle, the temptation grew stronger. I caught myself thinking about the past, about all the times I'd worked my ass off only to barely scrape by. I thought about my apartment, falling apart in places I couldn't afford to fix. I thought about that moment in college when I had to sell my laptop because I couldn't pay rent. Every memory was like a whisper telling me, this money could fix all of it. Just take it. It's embarrassing to admit, but I started rationalizing. It's just sitting there. I muttered aloud one night. Nobody will ever know. If it's meant to be mine, it's meant to be mine. Riley didn't like it. I knew he didn't. He called me practically every hour that night, lecturing me on morality, danger, and common sense. You don't understand, Riley, I said at one point, frustrated. I've worked my ass off and I'm still drowning. This could change everything. You'd understand if you were in my shoes. You'd be dead in a week if you touched that money, Alex, Riley said. Just trust me. Get it out of your head. Turn it in, call the cops, do anything but keep it. I sighed, letting his words wash over me. He was right, of course, but the temptation had a gravitational pull I couldn't resist. And deep down, I wanted to test myself. Could I resist? Could I make the right choice? That's when Lena Torres came into my life. I met her on a rainy evening, the kind of rain that soaks you through to the bone, leaving a cold chill in your chest that you can't shake. She appeared almost out of nowhere, leaning against my door with a sharp, calculating look in her eyes. She was in her late 20s, with short dark hair and eyes that seemed like they could see right through me. Alex Carter, she said, almost like she was reading my thoughts. I think you need to know what you're dealing with. Yeah, I said cautiously. Who are you? Name's Lena. I know a little about the bag you found. She didn't elaborate, and that alone made me tense. You know, the money? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Yes, she said. And you need to know it's tied to someone very dangerous. Someone named Victor Kane. I froze. Kane. The name sounded familiar, like a shadow in the back of my mind. I had heard rumors about him in the city. Wealthy, powerful, untouchable. Some kind of criminal mastermind who pulled strings behind the scenes and who rarely got his hands dirty directly, but could ruin lives without ever showing his face. What do you mean? I asked, trying to stay calm. Victor Kane doesn't leave loose ends, Lena said. If that money isn't returned, if he suspects it's in the wrong hands, people die. And I mean innocent people. That bag wasn't lost by accident, Alex. It was put there for a reason. Someone's watching, waiting, seeing what you'll do. My stomach dropped. I hadn't thought about the consequences like that. I'd been so focused on what I wanted, I hadn't stopped to think about what I could cause. I felt trapped. And to make matters worse, Maya's motives were starting to feel shady. She'd been helpful, yes, but there was something in her eyes, something calculated, like she was sizing me up, testing me. I couldn't tell if she genuinely wanted to help me or if she had her own game in mind. Riley, of course, still hated her. He called me the next morning, voice sharp. Alex, listen, Maya's not your friend. I don't care what she says. She's playing some angle. You don't know who she is and you don't know what she wants. She's dangerous. I know, Riley, I said, but she knows things. She knows about Marcus. She knows about the bag. And right now, I need someone who knows what's going on. You're being naive, he said, frustration clear in his voice. This is exactly how people get themselves into life-threatening situations. You don't play games with people like this. You run, or you call the cops. You don't trust strangers. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Riley was right. But I also knew the second I involved him or the cops, I risked exposing the bag to more people, potentially even Marcus. And at the same time, keeping the money, it felt like staring at a forbidden fruit I couldn't resist. Over the next few days, I vacillated between panic and daydreaming. I'd stare at the bag and imagine the life I could have. I pictured myself paying off my apartment, my car, my debts. I imagined trips, new clothes, finally being able to eat something besides ramen without guilt. I even imagined myself telling Riley, see, this was worth it. And then the fear would hit. Marcus, Kane, Maya, Lena, Riley's warnings, the thought that someone could get hurt, or worse, because of me. Every time I imagined my new life, the shadow of danger loomed over it like a dark cloud. Then it happened. I came home one night after meeting Lena at a cafe. She'd given me more details about Kane, about the money, about how dangerous things could get, and I found another note slipped under my door. My hands shook as I picked it up. It was simple, short, and terrifying. Keep it, and someone dies, including you. I stared at the words for a long time, feeling the weight of them crush me. My apartment suddenly felt like a cage, the walls closing in. The bag of money, which had been this tantalizing symbol of hope and escape, now felt like a noose around my neck. I sank to the floor, staring at it. I couldn't move, I couldn't think. All I could feel was fear and that gnawing, impossible temptation to keep it anyway. Because if I returned it, I'd lose everything I'd been dreaming of. But if I kept it, I might lose everything, including my life and the lives of people I cared about. And that, my friends, is the moment I realized I was in way deeper than I ever thought I could be. I had a moral choice to make, and it wasn't just about money anymore. It was about life, death, trust, and greed, all tangled together in a way I wasn't sure I could untangle. And the scariest part, I didn't know if I could. I should have just left it alone. I should have done exactly what Riley said. Forget the money, walk away, and call it a bad day. But no, curiosity, and probably a bit of my ego, got the better of me. I needed answers. I needed to know where the money came from, and more importantly, who would kill to get it back. It started with Lena. She gave me enough breadcrumbs to know that the bag was tied to someone powerful. Kane, Victor Kane. The name alone made my stomach twist. Lena said Kane didn't get his hands dirty, that he ran operations from the shadows. He was wealthy, untouchable in a way that made you shiver just thinking about him. And the more I dug, the more I realized just how deep this went. I spent hours online, digging into anything I could find about Kane. News articles, shade forum posts, financial filings that barely skimmed the surface of legitimate businesses. It was all a web, and I felt like a fly trapped in it. The more I learned, the more I understood. This wasn't just some bag of money. This was a piece of a massive operation, likely illegal, likely dangerous, and definitely tied to people who didn't hesitate to kill. And then there was Maya. At first, I thought she was my lifeline, my guide through this mess, but the deeper I dug, the more I noticed things that didn't add up. She was always around, always conveniently knowing what to do, but sometimes her questions felt pointed, like she was testing me. And I noticed the way she smiled when I hesitated, the way her eyes lingered on the bag a little too long. I started doubting her. Could she really be here to help, or was she just another player in Kane's game? I decided to confront her. It was late, around midnight. The city was quiet, the kind of quiet that made every creak, every distant siren, every passing car feel like a threat. I found her at that corner cafe again, leaning back in a chair with her signature, calm expression. Maya, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to know what your deal is. Are you helping me, or are you using me? She tilted her head, smiling faintly. Alex, I told you I'm here to help, but you're not the easiest person to read. Bullshit. I know you're hiding something. You know what Kane is capable of, and you're either working with him or planning to screw me over. She leaned forward slightly, her gaze intense. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But think carefully. Kane isn't someone you cross, and me, I'm here because I can't let this go sideways. If you screw up, it's not just your life on the line. I didn't like her answer, not one bit. But there was no time to argue. Something in the back of my mind screamed danger, urgent danger. When I got home, my instincts were right. Someone had been inside my apartment. The door was slightly ajar, and the first thing I noticed was the faint smell of leather and cigarette smoke. My heart jumped into my throat. I froze. Marcus, I muttered under my breath. I grabbed the duffel bag and ducked behind the sofa, my mind racing. I could hear footsteps, faint but deliberate, scanning the apartment. Whoever it was knew exactly what they were looking for. Alex Carter, a voice hissed. Where's the money? I swallowed hard, trying to steady my shaking hands. I needed a plan. I had Riley at least, but he wasn't here yet. I texted him quickly. Marcus is in my apartment. I need backup now. His reply was almost immediate. I'm on my way. Don't do anything stupid. Find somewhere safe and keep the bag close. I needed more than that. I needed a trap. I knew Marcus wasn't working alone, and I had to make sure I could escape if things went south. I grabbed the heaviest lamp I could find, moved furniture around to block obvious paths, and prepared myself mentally for the confrontation. And then he appeared. Marcus stepped into the living room, his expression a mix of anger and amusement. You really thought you could take this from Kane and get away, huh? I stayed silent, clutching the duffel bag like it was a lifeline. I'll make this simple, he said. Hand it over. I shook my head, trying to sound braver than I felt. I don't know what you're talking about. Marcus laughed, a sharp, unsettling sound. Cut the crap, Alex. You're in over your head. Way over. I waited for him to move closer, ready to swing the lamp if necessary. My heart was hammering, my mind running a million miles per hour. And then, just as he lunged, I heard a crash from the kitchen. Riley had arrived. Alex, move, he shouted. Marcus hesitated, glancing at the sudden distraction. I seized the moment, grabbing the bag and sprinting toward the back door. Marcus roared and chased, but Riley threw a chair, tripping him just enough to buy me some distance. We ran into the alley behind my building, gasping for air, hearts pounding. I glanced back and saw Marcus scrambling to regain his balance, cursing under his breath. Okay, I panted, trying to calm myself. We need a plan. He's not going to give up. Riley nodded, breathing hard. I know. We need a trap, something to make sure he doesn't get the bag and to buy us time. We spent the next few hours setting up decoys, booby traps, and surveillance measures. I had never been so meticulous in my life. Every step calculated to keep Marcus off balance, but even with all our planning, I couldn't shake the feeling that something could go horribly wrong at any second, and then it did. We thought the traps would buy us enough time to regroup, to figure out our next move, but Marcus was smarter than we expected. He anticipated one of the decoys, bypassed the first set of obstacles, and cornered me in the alley. I froze, clutching the duffel bag, sweat pouring down my face. Marcus advanced slowly, a predator with a twisted grin. And then, out of nowhere, another figure appeared. Samira. I didn't know who she was. One minute she wasn't there, and the next she was standing between me and Marcus, her expression unreadable. Step back, she said, voice calm but firm. Marcus laughed. Oh, so you're the backup. Cute. Samira didn't flinch. She simply stared at Marcus, unflinching, unafraid. But the thing that terrified me most was that I didn't know whose side she was on. Was she here to help me, or was this another trap? My mind raced. Every option seemed worse than the last. If I moved, Marcus could grab the bag. If I stayed, he could attack. And Samira, I couldn't predict her next move. I swallowed hard, realizing that the dangerous game I had started had just escalated to a level I wasn't prepared for. The bag of money, which had once promised opportunity, had now become the center of a storm I couldn't control. And standing there, cornered, I realized one thing clearly. Nothing about this was going to be simple. Not the money, not the people, not the choices I had to make. The dangerous game had only just begun. I don't think I've ever been more terrified in my life. The past week had been a blur of adrenaline, paranoia, and sleepless nights, but that night, God, that night, I realized how fast a situation could turn from manageable to deadly. I'd made mistakes, big mistakes, but I'd also learned something vital. When people are after you, hesitation kills. It started in the middle of the night. I was sneaking through a back alley, clutching the duffel bag like it contained the last shred of my soul. The city was quiet, too quiet, and every shadow felt alive. Marcus and his crew were still hunting me. I could feel it. Every instinct in my body screamed that I wasn't alone. Then I saw movement. 3 figures emerged from the shadows. Marcus flanked by 2 of his goons. My stomach dropped. They were faster, stronger, and clearly not in the mood to negotiate. I ran. Full sprint, lungs burning, adrenaline screaming. They chased, shouting my name, cursing, their footsteps echoing off the walls. I turned a corner sharply, nearly tripping, my heart pounding like a drumline in my chest. One of the goons lunged at me. I twisted, barely avoiding his grasp, swinging the duffel bag like a weapon. It connected with a satisfying thud, throwing him off balance. Marcus roared, the sound of pure rage, and charged. I ducked into a side alley, hoping to lose them in the maze of fire escapes and dumpsters. I could hear Marcus cursing, getting closer, the shouts bouncing off the walls. I spotted a chain-link fence and scrambled over it, scraping my hands and knees. Pain shot through me, but I didn't care. I had to survive. Finally, after what felt like hours, I slipped into the relative safety of an abandoned warehouse. My lungs burned, my hands were bleeding, and my heart felt like it might burst, but I was alive. For now. I collapsed against a stack of crates, trembling. The bag lay next to me, battered but intact. I stared at it, realizing something chilling. This bag was the reason I was almost dead. And yet, I couldn't let it go. Not now. Not when I was this close to understanding what I'd gotten myself into. Riley arrived shortly after, a look of sheer panic on his face. Alex, he shouted, rushing to my side. Are you okay? Jesus, I thought I'm fine. I gasped, though I wasn't. We need to move. They know where we are, and it's only a matter of time before they figure out where we're hiding. Riley nodded, wiping blood from a small cut on his forehead. We need a plan. Temporary disappearance. No traces, safe houses, everything. They can't find us if we vanish completely. We spent hours hashing out strategies. Burner phones, alternate routes, decoys, and safe locations. Riley was meticulous. He always was, but I could see the tension behind his eyes. He was scared for me. I was scared for me, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the feeling that things were going to get worse before they got better. That's when Samira reappeared. She had that same calm, unreadable expression, leaning against the doorway like she owned the place. Alex, she said, voice soft but commanding. You're lucky I showed up. You don't have much time. I blinked. What do you mean? I can help you, she said, but it comes with conditions. I can't explain everything, but if you want to survive and keep that bag intact, you'll have to trust me. Partially, temporarily. Riley looked skeptical, his arms crossed. Trust her? You're kidding, right? She's right, I said. I don't have a choice. Samira nodded. Exactly. Follow my lead, do exactly what I say, and maybe you'll make it through this. We moved quickly, disappearing into the night using back roads, alleyways, and abandoned subway tunnels. Every shadow felt like Marcus watching. Every distant siren sounded like danger. My nerves were shot, my hands constantly clutching the bag as if letting go would mean losing everything or dying. And then, just when I thought we might be safe for a few hours, another threat appeared. Detective Simon Cross. I knew about him from news clippings and online forums. He was sharp, methodical, and relentless, and now he was on the trail. I spotted him just outside the tunnel entrance, a figure in the shadows with a badge glinting faintly in the dim light. Riley swore under his breath. Cross, he's onto us too. I felt the weight of it instantly. Not only did I have Marcus and Kane's crew hunting me, but now a detective. Someone who might very well end up taking the money from me legally was closing in. Every decision became more critical, more pressured. One wrong move, and everything could collapse. Samira gave me a look. We can't let them catch us. Not now, not ever. We ducked into an abandoned building, barricading the doors. I dropped onto the floor, chest heaving. The bag lay between us, a constant reminder of why we were running. I don't know how much longer I can do this, I admitted, voice shaking. The running, the hiding, it's exhausting. And now there's a detective too. I don't see a way out that doesn't end badly. Samira crouched beside me, placing a hand on my shoulder. You survive because you're smart and you adapt. That's why you're still alive. But you need to be prepared for everything. No hesitation, Alex. Everything you've done up to now, it's just the beginning. Riley looked at her, then at me, and shook his head. I don't like any of this. None of it. But I can't argue with survival. We do what we have to. The hours passed in tense silence. Every sound outside, footsteps, distant shouts, even the rustle of wind through broken windows, made me jump. The city that had once felt familiar was now a labyrinth of danger. Every corner potentially hiding death. And yet, through all of this, the bag never left my side. Every decision, every calculation, every step I took was dictated by it. The money had become more than just cash. It was a symbol of everything I wanted, everything I feared, and everything I had to protect. By sunrise, we had temporarily shaken our pursuers. Marcus and his crew were still out there, Kane's shadow looming in every corner. Detective Cross was closing in, methodically and relentlessly, and I was left with the realization that surviving this night was only the first step. I leaned back, exhaustion weighing down on me, and stared at the bag. My hands shook as I unzipped it slightly, just to remind myself it was still there. Still real, still mine, for now. But deep down, I knew the truth. Escaping the immediate danger didn't mean the danger was gone. Marcus was still out there. Kane was still out there. And the money, my dreams, my mistakes, my life was still at the center of it all. The escape had bought me time, nothing more. And that, my friends, was just the calm before the storm. By the time I reached the edge of exhaustion, I knew one thing for certain. The nightmare was about to reach its peak. Every decision I made, every step I'd taken had led me here. The bag of money, once a symbol of hope and opportunity, now felt like a ticking time bomb, its weight heavier than ever, physically and mentally. I had survived ambushes, evaded gangsters, and narrowly escaped the law, but I was done running. It was time to face whatever this thing really was, whoever had orchestrated it, and finally understand the truth. I started piecing it together in my head, retracing the breadcrumbs Lena had given me. Victor Kane. The name alone sent shivers down my spine. Everything pointed to him. Not Marcus, not the street-level goons, not even Maya and Samira. Kane had orchestrated the entire scenario. But why? What was his endgame? The answer came faster than I expected. I received an anonymous message on a burner phone Samira had insisted I carry. The text was brief, but unmistakably from someone who knew far too much. Meet me at the docks, midnight, come alone. I didn't like it, of course. But I had no choice. I couldn't keep running forever, and I needed answers. Riley was furious when I told him. Alex, are you out of your mind? This is exactly how people die, he shouted over the phone. I know, Riley, but this is the only way I find out what the hell is going on, I replied, trying to keep my voice calm, though my chest pounded like a drum. Riley reluctantly agreed to monitor from a distance, ready to intervene if things went south. Samira, ever the enigma, refused to come with me, only offering a single piece of advice. Trust your instincts. Don't let the bag dictate your choices. Everything else is a game. I arrived at the docks at midnight. The fog thick and cold, the water glistening dimly under the weak overhead lights. The air was tense, almost surreal. I could hear footsteps echoing across the wooden planks. Then he appeared. Victor Kane. Tall, impeccably dressed, eyes sharp and unreadable. His presence alone radiated control, power, and danger. Alex Carter, he said smoothly, almost casually. I've been watching you. You set all of this up? I asked, gesturing vaguely at the chaos surrounding the past week. The bag, Marcus, Maya, Samira, everything? Kane smiled faintly. Yes, every moment. Consider it a test. A test? I echoed, incredulous. You endangered lives just to see what I'd do with some cash? He nodded. Morality, courage, decision-making under pressure. Those are qualities I value. That bag wasn't random. It was placed in that car for you to find. Everything else, The threats, the danger, it was orchestrated to see if you could survive and make choices that reflected who you truly are. I took a step back, my brain struggling to keep up. You're insane. People could have died. Kane's expression remained calm. People might have, but that's life. Life is full of tests, Alex. Some fail, some pass. You've endured, adapted, and survived. That's why you're here with me now. My mind raced, and then everything clicked. Maya and Samira, their roles, their constant presence, their guidance, their hidden motives. It wasn't loyalty. It wasn't morality. It was all Kane's design. They were pieces on his board, making sure the game played out exactly as he wanted. You used them too, I said bitterly, my hands balling into fists. You manipulated everyone. Kane inclined his head. I manipulate circumstances, not people. They made choices, just as you did. I felt a mix of fury, disbelief, and relief. Relief that the storm was finally revealing its source, and fury at the sheer audacity of Kane's plan. Fine, I said, taking a deep breath. So what now? I give it all back, walk away, and that's it? Not exactly, Kane replied. I want to see what kind of person you are, how you handle power, temptation, responsibility. That's why you'll decide the bag's fate. Before I could respond, footsteps approached rapidly. Detective Simon Cross appeared, his badge catching the light, eyes fixed on Kane. Hold it right there, Kane, he said, hand on his gun. I've been tracking this operation for months and it ends tonight. I felt panic spike again. Kane's calm demeanor didn't falter. He gestured subtly and I could sense that Samira had reappeared from the shadows, silent as always, evaluating everything. Riley, watching from a hidden vantage point, sent a text with coordinates for extraction and instructions. He had been incredible all week, guiding me remotely, keeping me one step ahead. Now he would help expose the whole setup. I swallowed hard. This was it. The culmination of every decision I made, every risk I'd taken. The bag of money sat at my feet, heavy and burdensome, a symbol of temptation, survival, and moral reckoning. I looked at Kane. I've survived your test, I said, voice steady despite the chaos. I've learned a lot about myself and about the people around me, but I'm done being a pawn. The bag, I'm making the choice. Kane tilted his head, curious. And what choice is that? I took a deep breath, glancing at Riley, who gave me a small, encouraging nod. The money stays where it belongs, but I'm walking away from it. You wanted to test my morality? Fine. I've passed, but I'm not playing your games anymore. Kane's expression was unreadable, but there was a flicker of acknowledgement in his eyes. Interesting. Very well, you've made your decision. Cross stepped forward, securing Kane while Riley and I coordinated to reveal the truth to the authorities, including the roles Maya and Samira had played. The web of manipulation, greed, and danger unraveled in a tense confrontation, exposing Kane's empire and the carefully orchestrated test. And finally, I walked away. The city felt different as I left the docks, the weight of the bag gone, but the lessons it carried heavy in my mind. I had survived, I had learned, and I had chosen morality over temptation. But even as I breathed freely for the first time in days, a subtle unease lingered. Because deep down, I knew one thing. Someone, somewhere, may have kept a portion of that money. And while I had walked away wiser, the shadows of Kane's game and the bag itself would linger in the back of my mind forever. I had survived the storm, but I knew life had a way of testing people again. And the bag had left its mark on me. A reminder that choices, temptation, and danger often come hand in hand, and that even when the game ends, the consequences sometimes don't.